So as we've been working in CPT, that we've been like practicing some of these, um, I guess like practice assignments during the week, right? Where we've been thinking about, some of the activating events during the week that kind of, you know, help us identify our thoughts and our body sensations and our behaviors. Um, as you mentioned, the low lows this last week, what came up for you there?
Um, I think just feeling mm, forgotten or unprioritized is, I mean, we've talked like I know we've talked about this before. Um, it's really easy for me to see moments where I would do things a certain way in the way that I communicated that would involve everyone, right? Um, where when there isn't communication, it's really easy for me to take that as it can be triggering for me to then read into that as I'm unwanted there or unloved or um, just not a priority.
Yeah. It sounds like you don't feel heard or that your voice doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah,
I could be wrong.
yeah. I think just even just unseen.
Okay, unseen. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Um, and tell me if this sounds accurate or not. Like it sounds almost like you're trying to control some of the hurt. It sounds like you feel hurt, but are not wanting, like, I don't know if you're not wanting to or trying to control it. It just is,
Yeah, yeah.
I feel hurt, but it seems like you're trying to contain it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I think there's a defense mechanism in that.
Mhm.
Um, I've been told that my emotional needs are exhausting. And so I do try to minimize that so that I'm not, so any petitions for time or attention don't feel very big. And because I don't want to, I don't want to lose someone because I exhaust them with my needs. So if my needs are smaller, then they won't be exhausting.
That sounds exhausting.
Yeah, I'm also just exhausted, period. So, so that's probably a lot of it too.
But making that sacrifice for the someone that you're not wanting to potentially burden or to exhaust, like that's sacrificing also some of your needs. So maybe we can reframe it in a way of how can I get my needs met in a way that maybe just doesn't put as much on him, right? What
Yep.
are
Yeah.
different ways of supporting your needs?
Yeah. Yeah. And that like I mean, there were elements of that this last week when there wasn't any communication, I was kind of left behind, like not knowing exactly what was going on. Um, I remember distinctly having a moment where we had been snorkeling and and I could feel that my back was burning, right? Like we'd been out there for a while and I'd already been we'd been snorkeling the day before and I'd already had a pretty bad sunburn. And so I was like, okay, like I feel like I need to go back to reapply sunscreen or something because and and Sean wasn't done yet. Like there were, I guess, things that he still wanted to kind of go out and see. And again, like I know the safety protocols, right? Like you stay together, you don't, but he was fine going off on his own. And I sat there worrying like, well, I guess I'm just going to stand here, even though I wanted to go back and protect my skin, right? Like I wanted to do that, and he wanted something different. Um, and I sat there and I let myself feel the anxiety of like watching him. He's getting too far. Like, oh my gosh, like, does he even know where he is? The group we were with has already left. I'm by myself. I'm feeling like, anyway, I know this is a silly thing to be proud of in this moment because it sounds a little bit bad. But I had a moment where I was like, why are you worrying more about him than he is about you? And I did. I said, he's a grown man. If he feels safe doing this, then he'll be fine. And I walked away. So, and again, it feels weird to be proud of that moment, to be like, well, this is what I needed. I'm not going to stand here and just wait. Like I did say, um, anyway, and he was fine. He had a great time. He didn't die. So totally fine. Anyway, but that was a moment where it's like, okay, I can probably do that more for myself, and instead of creating stress and anxiety when no one else feels it, when creating stress and anxiety for others when they don't even feel it for themselves. That I don't need to take on their choices and worry about them.
Yeah.
So
Something
anyway,
you said really stood out. So, all right, you're worrying about Sean as he's walking off, and essentially you're kind of worried about your needs, but also worrying about him at the same time, right? But then just now you mentioned worrying about yourself and how you essentially took care of yourself.
yeah, I will tell you that it felt and even in talking about it, right, like I'm qualifying everything like this is going to sound bad, or this like all of it sounds very selfish, right? Like, and I keep, and again, this is completely unnecessary because he is safe and nothing happened, but I did continue to have the thoughts that like if something happened and I abandoned him to go put on more sunscreen, right? Like just how that would eat me, right? Like how selfish that choice was, right? And probably realizing that I even subconsciously am looking for Sean to feel stress and worry about me. That somehow that would equate to a version, kind of a messed up version of love that I am aching for, right? Like if he's worried about me, then he would um, show it. Um, but even kind of going down that trail of thought, two things. One, if he's not worried about me, it doesn't actually mean a lack of love. It probably means a lot more confidence, right? From the standpoint of like, I know that she's okay, or I know that she is capable and can handle it, or I trust her, or whatever that, like that's also an option in that scenario emotionally, that him not feeling anxiety for me or for the kids in the same way that I do doesn't mean isn't that there isn't care or concern. Does that make
Yeah.
anyway? So, but also I don't want someone to feel what I feel, and I think putting that on him. Why is it on him to worry more about me than I worry about myself? So,
I appreciate that you're being aware of your thoughts. It's kind of bringing in that cognitive model that we've practiced, right?
yeah,
You're recognizing, hey, not everything that my brain tells me is necessarily true because he's had different experiences. And so,
yep,
he might be doing this behavior because of a different reason, because of a different thought, right? His behavior doesn't
yeah,
mean the same thing like it would be for me, right? And you're recognizing that. Um, And I really admire how in that moment you paused and said you practice mindfulness, which isn't um mindfulness isn't necessarily like going blank, right? It's um focusing on being in the present and in the here and now, and what do I have in front of me that I can utilize? And that's what you did. You you focused in and you said, what do I have control of, and what am I in control of and have agency to use right now? Instead of worrying about the past, instead of worrying about the future, you said, right now, what can I do? I can do this, and I can do it for myself, and I can fulfill
Yeah.
my, and you did that.
Practicing.
You did awesome. And by taking care of some of your needs, uh, maybe there will be a little bit of a different gap that might feel different. And he might, that homeostasis is going to shift a little bit. And you guys are both going to feel it. He's going to feel it eventually too, you know?
Yeah. I do think that there's a fear though.
Hmm.
So like I can hmm. So back to that, like I ache for him to feel the care and concern for me that if I do put in the effort to care for me. Mm. Okay, so this is a real one because I'm feeling it. That only continues to make me like more emotionally independent of him, right? Like I already feel like um I already feel like I need so little of him, or that I like see demand's not even the right word because I don't even have that strength, but like that my petitions for him have become so scaled back because I don't want to be needy. So what happens if I care for myself and he sees she's doing a great job, she doesn't need anything from me, and I get less when I already kind of feel like I'm starving.
Yeah.
So, but again, like I know I can't change him. I can only change me, and if I have needs that are not being met by anyone else, then it is my job first and foremost